Hey everyone, welcome back to Dress Better, Live Better. Today I'm joined by the amazing Joanne. She's a globally recognized force in fashion and lifestyle, blending luxury with relatability through her authentic content. Let's dive into her story, her style, and how she uses fashion to empower not only herself, but others. How do you feel?
I'm good. How are you?
I feel really good. It's good to be here and to finally see your place. The place is designed beautifully.
It's a privilege to have you here, so welcome.
Amazing. Let's dive into it now.
Yay.
So your blog and social presence have earned international recognition. What initially inspired you to share your journey in fashion and lifestyle with the world?
I've always loved fashion. I remember going to uni, that was my favorite thing to do, was to dress up. And one of my uni friends noticed, and he was like, actually, there's this girl called Margaret in my class, and she has a fashion blog. And I was like, what's a fashion blog? He goes, she just writes about fashion. This is a website. And I was like, wow, this is a whole thing. So that's like my first introduction into the fashion world and the online space. And that's how I was like, if she can do it, I can do it too. Because I felt I could relate to her. She has immigrant parents. She's Asian. I think she really inspired me. And now she's worked at Vogue and all these brands. That's really cool.
So you've had a fascinating mix of experiences studying commerce, working in digital marketing, and diving into fashion. How did these diverse experiences shape your career?
I think if I hadn't done all of those, I probably wouldn't appreciate what I do now, because if you've worked for someone else and if you're also someone who don't like authority that much, you start working for yourself and realize, wow, like I love the freedom of having to hustle for yourself. Exactly like what you said, when you work for a company, they sometimes don't appreciate you. Whereas if I had just gone straight out, there's a lot of girls now, like 16-year-olds, they have TikToks and they've never worked for anyone else. I don't think they realize how precious it is.
That's a really good point. I haven't heard anyone say that before. But yeah, working for someone else, they have a lot of workers, so I feel like they don't appreciate each single worker, especially working in retail. I've had that experience.
Yeah.
And once I ventured outside of that, I really appreciated it much more. So travel seems to be a big part of your story. How have exploring different cultures influenced your personal style and your perspective on fashion?
I think it just opens up the whole horizon. I remember going to Europe for the first time and we went clubbing and every single girl was wearing baggy jeans and sneakers. In Australia at the time, people were wearing bodycon dresses, high heels.
Complete opposite.
Complete opposite. And I was like, wow, that is so cool. So I kind of brought that back to Sydney, just that laid-back culture, sneakers all the time with dresses. So I think traveling is really important for that, because on Instagram, when you see fashion bloggers from Paris, they are dressed up. They are in gorgeous dresses and heels, because that's what you think Paris is, but it's actually completely the opposite when you go there.
Yeah, it's not always an accurate representation like Instagram. When you walk down the street of a different country than your own, you see what people are actually wearing.
Yes.
And when I was in Paris, like everywhere I walked, I saw so much inspiration.
Yeah.
Everyone was dressed well and it was understated but elegant. People go for groceries and they look better than most people do in clubs here in Australia. That's how much I love Paris. But yeah, it opens up so many new experiences for you, inspiration, and especially as a stylist myself, like it just opens up a whole new world.
Seoul is another city I love. Everyone in Seoul looked amazing and put together. Like you just walking down the train station, I can't pick anyone who's not well dressed. It was insane to me.
Yeah, I was just there in September actually.
Yeah.
It was so cool. Similar to
Everyone looks amazing. Everyone looks so fashionable.
similar to Japan actually.
Yeah,
It
I've
was-
never been to Japan. I really want to go.
Okay. It was very experimental fashion and the crazy hairstyles, and I loved how personal each outfit was to the person. So it didn't seem like they were trying to be someone else. They were actually expressing themselves, and that's what I love to see. Yeah.
I love that too.
So how do you approach styling when working with high-end labels compared to creating content for your personal audience? Do you think there's a conflict?
I think styling with high-end labels, just styling in general, it's a little bit impractical, especially with editorials. You're pairing a micro short with high heels or activewear with high heels. It's kind of for the clickbait effect, almost like you're putting juxtaposition of two completely different, or like a masculine tie with a really feminine dress. I love that about editorial, because even though you can't always wear that out on the streets, you can translate it a little bit into real life. So in my personal style, it's more practical. I can still borrow those elements. I still love layering. I still love putting weird things together, but not to the extreme. So editorials are where I can have fun with that.
I think editorial is how you experiment, and it's okay to experiment when you do editorial. And you can pull small details that you would use in an editorial into your everyday life. But of course, everyday life, you don't want it to be too crazy. You want it to express yourself, so you don't want it to be like too much like someone else's style. You can take certain things that you like in an editorial photo shoot and incorporate that into your everyday style. That's what I would say. You spent time working in Paris on digital marketing and visual merchandising. What was the most impactful lesson you learned from that experience?
I was so broke back then. I think the biggest lesson was if you want it, go for it. I remember I was an intern at I was getting paid, but I was technically still an intern. It was like a very junior role. Right before going home, I would go to the office bathroom and steal a roll of toilet paper because I couldn't afford toilet paper. All I had for dinner was baguette, cheese and tomato, like every night for dinner. But because I wanted it so bad, I just wanted to chase my dreams and go for it. So if you really wanted to, do it. You can find a way.
Do you think that Paris is a very expensive city to live?
I don't know about now, but at the time, because I wasn't really paying rent in Sydney, I was still living with my parents, I didn't really have much expenses. Moving from that situation all the way to booking a flight to Paris, paying rent, and working for really minimal wage or less than minimum wage was a shock to the system. You're actually spending so much. And then obviously on weekends when I wasn't working, I would travel to other European countries as well. We would go to Amsterdam, Brussels, because you're in Paris. Like, of course you go to other countries. So that's a lot of expenses as well. You just find creative ways to save money.
When you have less money, you're more creative with how you use it. You're forced to survive. Yeah. The good thing about Paris is it's very close to other countries and it has a lot of opportunities. So I know it's very hard for everyone starting out in fashion. You have to be an intern. You have barely anything to survive on. It is hard, but if you want it enough, if you're hungry enough, then I believe that you can truly get it. I can see now that you're here, so.
Yeah, hungry is the word.
Hungry
the key. That's the key.
Literally hungry. Okay. Fashion trends shift constantly. How do you stay true to your personal style while navigating such a rapidly evolving industry?
To be honest, you have to try everything once. That's my motto. I see trends that I'm not sure about and then I try it. I see how I feel. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. But sometimes you surprise yourself. You never know whether or not you like a trend until you try it on yourself. That's the main thing.
I think that you should always try things before you say no to them. Just because you see them on a clothing rack, for example, and say, this will never work for me. And then you try it on and then you actually love it. So always try things. That's how your style evolves. But I also think that TikTok can make you try things that doesn't suit you just to do it for the trend. And I also think that's like a negative of social media. But social media in general, I feel, is really good for fashion because we exposed to so many things we wouldn't usually see. So in that way, I think social media is good. But I think young kids can get trapped into that and they wear things that doesn't really suit them and they try to look too much like someone else. But I guess we all start like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I started. I just tried to dress like someone else.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how everyone learns. Like even across any industry, you start by copying first and then eventually you find your own sense of style.
So you've shared inspiring stories like budgeting and hitchhiking during your travels. How have those experiences shaped your personal and professional growth?
The hitchhiking thing is crazy. I wouldn't recommend that now. It's actually really dangerous. I think from that I learned that if you want something, just ask for it. The worst thing someone can do to you is say no, and then you move on. But if you don't ask, you never know. You don't get.
But hitchhiking, I don't think even I would do that. Yeah, it's a bit scary, especially in today's day and age. But which country did you hitchhike in?
It was in France. We were trying to go from Paris to south of France. And my friend who was traveling with me at the time was also equally as broke. And we were trying to not pay train tickets and just hop on the train. And we got caught halfway. So they kicked us out in Toulouse. And we were trying to go from Toulouse to Cahors. So we tried to hitchhike. It was maybe like an hour before someone picked us up. And thank God he was a good man because we could have, been in a really dangerous situation. He told us that he has a daughter our age. When he saw us, he was like, I'm going to help them out because if my daughter was there, that's what he hoped someone would do. Yeah, that was really sweet. And then the other thing was he was driving a BMW. So I think that also gave us a safety. Someone who is driving a BMW probably wouldn't harm you.
Probably.
Yeah. But you never know. So if you're watching this and you're young and you're trying to hitchhike, please say no. Yeah, don't do it.
That is actually so interesting. As a young woman in fashion, what are some unique challenges you faced and how have you overcome them?
I feel like a lot of females can relate to it. Actually, maybe even just anyone. It's less so me being a female in the society. It's more me versus me, like mentally.
Yeah.
Like self-discipline, believing in yourself, appreciating your own work. I remember when I first got my cover published as a stylist, I didn't post it to anyone. It was for Women's Fitness. It was like a great magazine. It was on the newsstands and everything.
Yeah.
But I was so embarrassed of it for some reason. I was like, oh, it's not Vogue. You know?
Okay, yeah.
I felt, self-doubt. It's like, it's only Women's Fitness, like no one's gonna read it, yeah. But
Women's fitness is actually huge.
in my mind, I was like, if it's not Vogue, I'm not gonna post about it. So even today, there's a lot of work that I don't showcase just because I don't think it's great. If I look at where I was 10 years ago, if I got the cover, I would have been so excited. Compare yourself with your past self rather than yourself with other people is my main challenge that I still need to overcome, actually.
I think that we should celebrate all our wins, no matter how small or big they are. Every time something happens, I always celebrate my story. And some people are like, this is nothing, but I'm like, who cares? It's better than where I was a couple years ago. That person who I used to be would have loved this. And that's how I compare it. I think that social media, we compare ourselves too much to other people. And I think women compare themselves much more than a man does to other men. You've mastered the balance between showcasing luxury and staying relatable. How do you maintain this balance in your content?
Honestly, it's just real. The reality is that you can't wear designer every day. You know, like you have to do a bit of high-low. People who do wear designer all the time, it's cool, but they are in this level themselves. But if you're being realistic, that's what everyday life is. There's no point trying to pretend that you're only wearing luxe. Like if you are pairing a Zara dress with a Louis Vuitton bag, then showcase that. Don't try to wear Bottega every day.
I think it's better to be transparent and be honest, especially as content creators. I think we need more of that in our industry actually, because there's a lot of fakeness happening. I think people that, you know, are growing up, 18, 19-year-olds, they're seeing all these other people wearing these luxury brands, like I feel like I'm not good enough because I don't have that as well, like them. I think you are very authentic with your content, and that's something that draws me towards your content. I'm sure a lot of other people are drawn to your content because of that, because of authenticity, that transparency. When you're posting your stories and sharing a story, for example, like a story of something that happened today, not a lot of people would do that. Do you think that's what draws most of your followers?
It's funny you say that because I don't feel like I'm 100% authentic online yet.
Interesting.
What made you say that? Would you have a specific example?
I don't have a specific example. I just like how you do your stories. And there are certain days where you would talk about your acne or something like that. Or there was one story, like you were explaining something that happened. I can't remember exactly what happened. It was a couple months ago. But I think I remember replying to your story, and not a lot of people would share that online, but you shared it. It's what I try to do as well. Sometimes I'm very vulnerable and I share what's going on in my life because I know other people are going through that as well. But social media, we have to keep up this guard, like our lives are perfect. We got to show ourselves off as better than everyone else. But I'm like, well, that's not real life, you know? And there's other people that are going through a lot of things mentally. You don't have to explain everything that's happening in your life, but every now and then it's good to talk and be real, especially when we have a platform and people are looking up to us. We have to say that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, I do love that. And I actually think that as humans, we just want to connect with other people. The phrase people buy from people, they don't buy things, especially a lot of brands, when the founder talks about their own story, that's when people buy from them. So I would say similarly in our kind of world, people follow you not just for your stuff. Maybe initially they follow you for yourself, but they stay loyal to your content because they feel connected to your story.
So let's dive into mental health now. Fashion can be a powerful tool for self-expression. How has your personal style impacted your mental well-being?
I think the same way beauty impacts my mental well-being, fashion does the exact same thing. Like if you think of getting up, just literally putting makeup on, I feel awake. I don't even need coffee. I can just put makeup on and feel awake. Same thing with dressing up. If I'm in my slouchy track pants and hoodies all day, I am not as productive as if I was actually dressed up and pretending I'm going to a 9 to 5.
That's interesting. When you dress the part, you feel better and you're more productive. You do more in the day. That's what I feel. It's been researched as well. It's actually true. I think it's just psychological. So I definitely think that when you dress for success, you'll be successful.
Dress for the job that you want.
So as a content creator, there's often pressure to present yourself perfectly. How do you manage this pressure and maintain a healthy mindset?
If you go through my Instagram content, you can tell it's not super perfect. And obviously there are some posts that we try to, especially for brands, you try to make it look good. But I think for me, especially on stories, is a good way to be real. Like when you mentioned like the no makeup thing, I struggle with acne basically all of my life pretty much. And when people reply to me and say, oh my God, girl, I'm the same, that makes me feel so connected to them. And that's what I want to help. Basically just kind of debunk, like your value is not tied to acne. Just because you have acne on your face doesn't mean you're any less. And there's other ways to make yourself feel confident through fashion, makeup, doing your hair. Acne doesn't represent anything. It has nothing to do with your self-worth.
Very good answer. So many people struggle with confidence in their wardrobe choices. What advice would you give to someone trying to use fashion to boost their self-esteem?
Number one tip I would say is to get rid of anything that no longer fits you. If you're holding on to that pair of jeans thinking, oh, I can wear this when I lose weight. No, just you can buy it again when you do lose weight. Anything that you're keeping, or sometimes I know people are like, I'm going to keep that dress and I'll alter it to fit my body. You're never going to do that project. Just donate it, let yourself free of that guilt. And then I think your mental health would start improving because everything in your wardrobe fits you and you feel good in everything that you see.
And you're not stuck in the past as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women struggle with that. They keep a lot of things in their wardrobe. I've seen that as a stylist when I'm going through people's wardrobes and they say, oh, I kept this certain piece because of this, and exactly like you said. And every time that happens, I just tell them, this is the present moment. You can't be stuck in the past and always be comparing yourself in that way. If you keep that dress, it's kind of like a skeleton in your closet. It stays in the back of your mind. You're like, oh, I've got to keep it there. I want to have that body that I used to have. But you've got to love yourself for who you are right now, because otherwise you will never think you're enough.
Yes.
How do you encourage more mindful and positive approaches to style through your platform?
I think the rise of diversity at the moment through social media is a great example of how that's where it should be going positively in terms of society. Different body types, different skin tones, that kind of stuff really does bring all these societal issues to light. I think, for example, even with myself, I have body dysmorphia. Like you might not even think that, but you might think, oh, she's skinny or whatever. Guys sometimes feel conscious about my belly or whatever. Yeah. But because I have seen online where plus size or curve models, I know some people don't like those terms nowadays, but if they are so confidently showcasing their body online and embracing who they are, it makes me feel confident that way as well. So I use that same lens to, I guess, encourage my audience on like if they're self-conscious about, like being flat-chested. I know a lot of girls are, they want to get boob jobs and stuff, but dress in a way that looks good for your body. Like for myself, I'm very confident with my flat-chestedness. I don't need to wear like booby dresses. Like this dress fits me really well. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you dress something to fit your body shape or your body style, then that's how you can be confident in like who you are, embrace your body type. Yeah. I
do talk about body shape a lot. I think it's really important to dress for your body shape and not another body shape that you see.
Yeah.
When you're online shopping, for example, when you see a girl, it could be a complete different body shape.
Yeah.
And when you order that dress and you see it and then you wear it and you're like, this is not how I looked on the website, for example, then it just exacerbates all these issues. I just think in-person shopping is really important.
Okay.
Yeah, so trying something on, and because you're not going to always have the model looking exactly how you look.
Yes.
Like, let's be honest. So now we're at Joanne's wardrobe. It's a nice walk-in wardrobe. I see a lot of colors in here, see a lot of different styles. So let's explore it. How has your wardrobe evolved over the years, and what does it say about your personal growth?
I used to experiment so many different kind of styles, from boho all the way to goth. I think now, as I've grown, I've narrowed down what I like and what I dislike. So my wardrobe would reflect that. If you see what my wardrobe was back then, oh my God, really? It was a mess.
I can't imagine you as a goth.
I had Hot Topic fishnet gloves. Yeah, it was. I had a nose ring at one point. Okay. Yeah,
it was the full package.
Full package.
So interesting. So how has it evolved now? What would you say your style is right now?
I'd still say it's a bit eclectic, but it's a lot more feminine now. I used to be a huge tomboy, like really, I used to have short hair, baggy clothes. Like I loved just roughing around.
A bit rebellious.
Yeah, but I think now as I've grown older, I do embrace, like I love things with cinch and waist. Yeah. I like wearing heels more now.
So more feminine in silhouettes, you'd say?
Yeah, more feminine silhouettes, things that kind of bring out my confidence. When I'm in my baggy era, I think it was because I wasn't comfortable with how I was really skinny, so I was trying to hide that because everyone would tease me at school and be like, oh, you're a bamboo stick. So if I wore skinny jeans or like tight tops, I actually felt exposed. Whereas now I love wearing things with small waists if I just want to embrace my waist, you know?
Everyone's really harsh during school, and that really builds our insecurities, and we always try to hide that through certain things like dressing. So it's really an interesting way to explore it. So what are 3 wardrobe staples that you can't live without, and why?
Denim, number one. I think denim, you can dress it up or down. Pair it with heels you can wear on a night out during the day. That's such a versatile piece. Sunglasses, I think it always elevates your outfit. Especially on days you don't feel like putting much effort into your makeup. You just put a pair of sunnies on. You can go out.
It just makes you look really stylish. It just elevates the whole thing.
Yes, I completely agree. And then lastly, I would say a pair of sneakers, because when you find a cool pair of sneakers that goes with every outfit, it instantly makes whatever you're wearing cool. You could wear a really feminine dress, but then if you wear a pair of Asics X Cecile Barnson collaboration sneakers, your cool factor is like next level.
It dresses it down a little bit more, but I feel like wearing sneakers with the dress, it shows your personality as well.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I still wear heels when I wear a long maxi dress, but sometimes during the day, I love wearing dress with sneakers, like high-low, as I mentioned, like just a position of masculine and feminine is my jam.
Joanne, can you share an example of a versatile wardrobe item that you can style in multiple different ways?
Yeah, a mesh long sleeve top like this. You can wear this under dresses, under tops, or you can wear it by itself with like a bralette underneath. I think this is so underrated. It's also surprisingly really warm, even though it's really thin. This material just traps the heat inside, so it's really great for winter as well.
I think it can be layered really well, so that's one of the best things. If you need something that's very classic, you can put this on, maybe put a coat on top, for example. It can elevate a whole outfit instantly. It's very versatile, so you can do many different things like you said. I think that everyone in their wardrobe should have something similar to this. This suits your style very well, but I know that not everyone would pull this off and it wouldn't suit their style. So I would say to someone watching, maybe try to find an example of this that's similar but not exactly the same if it's not their style, and just try to find more versatile options that you can layer with.
Yeah, anything mesh. I think I have a black mesh top as well. Even though it's daunting because it's see-through, you can find really creative ways to cover it. Like a sweetheart neckline corset, for example, will look so beautiful with this. Just like the neck portion, the lettuce neck. Little details like that. This one, you know, peeking out of like a shirt sleeves. I love that.
It looks classy.
Yeah, little details, yes.
So how do you decide what stays and what goes during a wardrobe detox?
I think my first thing is if it doesn't fit me, it goes to the donation pile. I want to feel good in my body. If it's too big for me, there are ways I can fix it, like putting on a belt or layer something underneath if there's more room. But if it's too small, it needs to go because I don't want to feel insecure about my body, and I'll never want to go back to being skinnier than I already am. Like this, I'm a really healthy weight now. That's my first thing. And second thing is whenever I put something on, I feel like I always take it off and then put something else on after. If I've done that 3 times, it goes, you know? There are certain pieces that are perfectly fine on its own, but then every time you try to wear it, you're like, oh, I don't want to, for some reason you don't like it, then it needs to go.
I get a lot of clothes sent to me, so it's sometimes hard to say no to something, but I think that there's a lot of people out there that don't have clothes. If I can donate to someone like that, I would rather do that than just keep it in my wardrobe, because if it's just collecting dust, there's no point. There's someone out there that probably doesn't even have a coat. I can give that coat to that person and then they can stay warm for a night, for example. So I'd rather do that than hoard clothes in my wardrobe, yeah. So Joanne, what's next for you in fashion, travel or personal projects?
I have a kind of TikTok interview, street style interview series that I've started, and I've really enjoyed doing it. Basically going on the streets and ask people about fashion questions. So I want to keep working on that. I think trying to find a really fine balance of how niche the questions can go, because we live in a chronically online fashion bubble, right? Some of the questions that I'm like, oh, that's so easy, but someone on the street who is not in the fashion world may not know it. So it's really tricky trying to find the balance. I'm still navigating that, but yeah, I want to try and grow that.
I think it's a fine balance, especially in a place where we live, Australia. Not a lot of people are very fashionable here, so the questions you ask have to be on the easier side. Even though we are chronically online, as you said, it might seem easy to us, but to someone else, they'd be like, what's that?
Yes, exactly, yeah. So trying to find easier questions to ask people is what I want to do.
And do you have any travel plans soon?
I'm going to Europe next year. One of my best friends is getting married married in Italy, so I'm gonna tack along a huge Europe trip. I want to go to London, Berlin, obviously Italy and Greece. I can't wait to go to Greece. I've never been before.
I've never been there either.
Yeah.
Definitely on the list.
Definitely.
And any personal projects or anything that you can share or tease?
Oh, I have a few magazine covers coming up.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it's a TBC. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Confidential for now?
Yes.
Okay. If you could influence one major shift in the fashion or content creation industry, what would it be?
Is it Australia or worldwide?
Actually, we can start with Australia and then worldwide.
Fashion still has a lot to do in terms of inclusivity.
Inclusivity. Yeah.
Beauty has done really well. Like we've seen, brands like Fenty Beauty come up with 40 shades of their foundation. Beauty in general is a very inclusive industry because lipstick can be worn on so many different people's face, whereas clothing and fashion design is a completely different ballgame. It needs to be more diverse still. People talk about diversity a lot in fashion, but there's still so much work that needs to be done.
Especially with the sizing, I feel like. Definitely.
Yeah.
What would you change in the content creation industry?
We're in the age now of content creation, it's fascinating because AI coming in. There's softwares that can edit videos for you, or they put someone else's face on your face, like face morphing. There's so many ways to alter a video using AI, and it's scary. So I think we're heading to a really interesting direction with content creation in general. And in the midst of this chaos, what shines through is authenticity, people who can relate to you. That's the reason why Indy Clinton won TikTok Creator of the Year last year. Yep. She's so real. Like her vlogs are chaotic. She's not the perfect mom. I think maybe seeing a bit more of that chaoticness, a love for people to not judge online so quickly, because that will encourage more vulnerability coming up online.
That's true. And finally, do you have any advice for someone trying to find their confidence and unique identity through fashion?
I would say try everything at least once. You don't lose money going to the change room in Zara, or even if you want to go to Miu Miu and try something on, it's free. Try and experiment and see what fits you and what makes you feel good, number one. The second thing is don't try to force yourself into someone else's shoes. Just because you see someone online wearing it and doesn't fit you, doesn't mean you should wear it as well. Embrace and be confident, do your own thing, because people like you because there's no one else that's you.
And do you think people of color, do you see more representation now than you did at the start of your journey?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would say when we were growing up, especially in the Western world, you don't really see people like us. I remember when I first had my magazine cover launch on the shelves, it was printed like they usually credit you. So Stylist Joanne is my last name. And I took a photo of that to my dad in the group chat, and he goes, "Wow, is that the first four in an Australian magazine?" I was like, wow, I didn't think of that. Growing up, you would never see an Asian stylist in the printed magazine. So I think the world is definitely more opened up now, and I really am grateful to be born in this generation. Yeah,
we love to see it. We love to see more Asians, especially in our industry, more people of color, more inspiration for people growing up, that they can do it too, just like you. And I'm really happy to be here, really happy to talk to you. I feel inspired, I feel hungry to go out there and kill it. So I hope this helped you guys out as well. I think it was a great interview and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's an honor for me for you to be in my living room, and the privilege for me as well. I really enjoyed this talk as well.
The place is beautiful, guys. The design is actually crazy. Honestly, that bookshelf, wow. All right, guys, thank you so much. That's Dress Better, Live Better. Bye.
Thank you.